Hey everybody, Ron Carruthers here, and I try to be at least, your main man for everything related to finance, personal, taxes, retirement, all that stuff. And today we're going to chat about um, 529 since it is in fact May 29th, aka 529 Day nationwide, and where they might not be all they're cracked up to be. But first, I got to let you guys know I redid a book. We just posted it. You can check it out on ronscollegebook.com. It's a book. It talks about how to get in. We dusted it off and re-updated it with the college scandal that's looming, and all the celebrities going to jail. So you want to check that out. Tell your friends about it. Give that book some love. And we're going to be adding it. If you pre-order it, you'll get a kind of like what they call a galley version of it today, and then you'll get your real version of it on Tuesday, which is when it officially comes out. And so it's going to have whole new sections on how to pay for college and options and things like that. So that's ronscollegebook.com. You got to check that out as soon as this broadcast is over, because I'm going to give you 5 things that they don't tell you about 529 days. So here's the thing. If you don't know what a 529 plan is, it is a college savings plan that behaves like a Roth IRA. If you see me looking at my watch, you guys aren't boring me. I have a tri-tip going for dinner tonight, and I don't want to burn it. If you guys are from San Diego, it's a Cardiff crack tri-tip, which is like hands down the best. So, and you can actually have those shipped anywhere. So after you get a copy of the book, you can get a Cardiff crack.com and check that out. Okay, 529. So here's how they work. They're like a Roth IRA, but for college. And so you put money into these bad boys after tax. You take money out for college tax free as long as it's used for college and nothing else. But it can be used for private school now also. And in between, if it actually goes up in value, you get that money to grow tax advantage also. So it is a tax free way of savings for college. What is there possibly not to like about this? Well, it turns out a lot, actually. And here's the problem. Um, the education committee in Congress, as well as the IRS committee, the tax committee, they don't always talk to each other. So the problem that you run into is what makes sense from a tax standpoint doesn't always make sense from a college planning standpoint. And by the way, if you're wondering why do they call it a 529, it's because if you go to the Internal Revenue Code section 529, that's where all the rules are laid out. But I basically explained them to you. There's a lot of money in these accounts, $319 billion. Now, if you remember that college debt in our country is about 1.6 trillion. Doesn't sound like that much, but there is a lot of money in them. There's about 14 million of them almost, and the average balance as of last year was 24,153. So again, what could possibly be wrong with these? Well, here's what they are. The first thing that you have to keep in mind is that the value of the 529 can be counted against you. 20 to 25% a year based on the school you're actually applying to. So you can't actually be penalized for saving because you saved in the wrong place. Now, there's always some smarty pants who wants to tell me that they read an article that said that the federal formula only counts that 529 at 5.65%. And that is in fact true. So if you're the smarty pants that was just getting ready to type that in on the computer, like save yourself. That's true. But whenever they do this in one of my classes and get that, well, I read, I'm like, okay, first of all, how many kids have you sent to college? Secondly, who does it count 5.65% against? And they're like, huh? What? It only counts 5.65% of the value per year for the federal money only. So any state money, private school money, school itself money, they can count it however they want. And often they count it up to 25%. Why do they do that? Well, because you're supposed to go to college for 4 years. So when you go to college for 4 years and you take something 25% of it each year, by the end of the fourth year, it's not around anymore. So if you're otherwise eligible for financial aid, and I'm going to tell you guys a great story on this tomorrow, and you're going to a school that asks anything beyond the bare basics, you might not want to have this because often you can lose the exact same amount that you set aside. That's the biggest flaw with them, and they don't tell you that. So you got to know that. And by the way, remember, I went to school to be a CFP, never sat for the exam, went to school to took in a ton of tax classes, never sat for the CPA exam, and they didn't bring this up in either of those, so nobody really knows this. So that's the biggest deal. And by the way, if you have a bunch of money saved in one of these accounts and you lose a job and you weren't eligible for it and now you are eligible, they might tell you, come back and tell us, spend that money, and then we'll see if we can help you out. So if you're in any way, shape, or form eligible for for financial aid that is beyond what the federal government would give you, this can hurt you. That's the big deal number one. Now, here's the big deal number two that a lot of people don't know about. They have much higher fees than a typical mutual fund. Why is that? Well, because now the state's involved. And so, kind of like the variable annuities that Ken Fisher hates so much because two entities get paid, the mutual fund and the insurance company, he's not wrong on variable annuities. He's misleading because it conflates it to make it sound like all annuities are bad, and they're not. But anyway, in the 529 case, it's the mutual fund company and the state that gets a cut. So the fees can be much higher than the exact same investment that isn't in a 529. You're double paying because everybody's got their hand out. In fact, CNBC ran the headline recently, commissions are devouring your 529 gains. Now, their solution was to select no load and low load mutual funds. But now we get to the third problem. And this is a biggie also. I keep saying that because these three are biggies, 4 and 5 are But the third one is that when you have a 529, all right, my chart tip's got a couple more minutes before I flip it. We got the meat thermometer ready to go to jab it to make sure it's a perfect. We're going to get it to like 122 right in the center and then leave it for a few minutes. It's going to be 129, perfect medium rare. Anyway, here's the deal. 529s run in a completely different time frame than an IRA 401k. So let me give you a perfect example of this. The goal of a 529 is to get it to grow, because whatever that gain is the part that you don't have to pay taxes on. Now, fees are a big deal. That was the other thing that we mentioned. But here's the other problem. You have to be very careful in how you manage these. You need to have a certain amount of growth in there, or the whole thing was pointless because it didn't make you any money, which means you didn't save any taxes, and you only shot yourself in the foot because it gets counted against you. But on the other hand, you can't be too aggressive, because if that mutual fund drops right as your kid's getting to go off to school, unlike retirement money, which gets spread out over 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, your school's going to be in college 4 or 5 years, maybe. Maybe they're going to get a graduate school for a little bit longer. So let me give you an example. If you had a Vanguard Index 500 mutual fund in October of 2007, and it was your 529, and you had 100 grand in that sucker. So you're like, right on, I got 25,000 a year at the time, 10 years ago, that would have gotten your kid through pretty much any state school in the country that was their own state, and you wouldn't have to worry about financial aid. But by March of 2009, because it dropped all of 2008, you would have only had less than $50,000 in that account. Some figures say even a little bit less than that. So here's the problem. It did not get back to the 100,000 mark for 4.5 more years. So you were underwater. Your 100,000 to 100,000 was 5.5 years. It was underneath the whole time. So now let's assume your kid was supposed to start in fall of 2008 or fall of 2009. Now what? That's your baby. That's going to pay for it. Your kid's going to be out of college before they ever have a chance. And what are you going to do? Tell them, No, just wait another year, wait another year, wait one more year. So this is a real problem. Now, if you start early enough, doesn't matter. But in my world, a lot of parents are starting late. So if your kid's already in middle school, forget it. There's no point. There's lots of alternatives where you don't have the downside of the market. You can use it for anything, not just college, and still pull it out tax free. So that's the third problem, is that design flaw, because you're taking that money over such a short window that one loss anywhere in there or right before totally screws you. And who knows? If we knew what the market was going to do tomorrow, we'd all be so rich it's not even funny. So that's a big deal. I actually call it the 529 paradox. So that's why I tell clients, if you have one, maybe we get rid of it, maybe we don't. If you're thinking about starting one, don't do it. Buy my book, ronscollegebook.com. You'll have a whole chapter in there and the new version on it. So that's the biggie. Now, the fourth problem is, what if you put too much in that account? What if your kid doesn't go to college? You have to pay tax and penalty on that. So if your 529, let's say, dropped down and you found other means and now your kid's out and they're not going to grad school and you don't have any other kids, let me tell you what your options are. You can withdraw the money to pay the loans down and pay tax on all your gain and penalties on all your gain. You can save the money as long as you can, like a retirement account, and pay tax and penalties when you go to withdraw the money. Or this one blows my mind that people even think of this, is you can turn around and just give it to somebody else because you're like a good person. But in the meantime, it never did what it was supposed to do for your own kid. That's why we like those alternatives. So look, I hate paying taxes, more than I have to, but that's just crazy talk right there. And then here's the fifth problem. And this actually is a big deal too. So I lied, they're all big deals. The fifth problem is that, let's say you have the money left over, you can't put it back in the account and use it now tax-free for retirement. Think about that. Let that go past your brain real slow now. It's only for college. So what if we put it somewhere else that didn't take losses the way the market does, you had tax-free gain, and you can withdraw it tax-free for anything? That exists. You can put as much into it as you want. So that's a class for another day, because my tri-tip's going to burn and I don't want to do that. But just so you know, there's 5 things that you should do. I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned a lot. We're not saying don't have them. You don't need to go out tonight and sell the one that you had. Just be cool on it and keep in mind that there's more to this than they might be telling you. So research your alternatives, and you can do that by reaching out to us anytime you want. And did I mention I have a book out, ronscollegebook.com. You got to check it out. All right, that's it for today, my friends. I'm sorry I took a few weeks off. We had to get this book done and get all the website for it put together. ronscollegebook.com. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you're enjoying the beautiful time. And that's it for today. We're going to do it again tomorrow, and I'm going to tell you a story about moving a 529 at the last minute and how it worked out in the real world. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Get this sucker ended, and we are done.